million people who are not American citizens stay inside the United States. Now, there are some rules for that. We'll get into it. It's another aggressive election year action by Biden on immigration after 3 years of Biden doing nothing or potentially making things worse with his policies. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Border security and immigration are top concerns among voters. We know this. Sometimes they ratchet all the way up to first place, above the economy. We've seen that. The most recent Fox News issues tracker shows former President Trump up by 18 points on the issue of immigration. President Biden's announcement today comes on the heels of his singular executive action earlier this month aimed at tightening our southern border. It has not done that. And many estimations and video and people you talk to who are at the border, it's making it worse. Here's Republican Congresswoman ТᖇΔեᗰកិ in Focus from yesterday.
In the wake of this Biden executive order that was really just designed to give top cover for political reasons. You know what they told me? They said it's gotten worse. Biden's executive order made the situation at the border worse. Why? Because now everyone's rushing to the border, even more so than before, because they feel that they're going to be capped out. It all goes back to them trying to give top cover for electoral purposes. But as a result, Americans are dying and communities are less safe.
Okay, let's start with what she's talking about there. Safety and death. We're seeing a growing number of high-profile examples of illegal immigrants committing heinous, violent crimes against Americans. Last week, police arrested an illegal immigrant for the rape and murder of this Maryland mother of 5, Rachel Morin. And let us not forget other victims, Laken Riley, Ruby Garcia, Jeremy Carceres. Just this morning, Fox confirmed the arrest of a man from Ecuador who's in our nation illegally and allegedly sexually assaulted a 13 little girl in New York City. Add to that the growing terror threat. Republican lawmakers are demanding answers over the 8 suspected terrorists with ties to ISIS who crossed the southern border illegally into this country. Fox News correspondent Bill Melugin is at the border near San Diego today. Bill.
Harris, good morning to you. Here in San Diego sector, we continue to see hundreds of people crossing illegally here every single day, every single night. Take a look at this video we shot a little over 6 hours ago, right where I'm standing. Another mass illegal crossing during the overnight hours as everyone was sleeping. This was 1 a.m. out here in Jacumba. People from all around the world coming in. A lot of men from China and India in this group. The cartel likes to bring them in at 1 a.m. out here. It's that cartel smuggling clockwork we often talk about. Starting to see more children showing up out here as well. But that wasn't the only group, Harris. Take a look at this second piece of video. Yesterday, same spot, dozens of Chinese nationals crossed illegally here, walking in on railroad tracks before surrendering themselves to Border Patrol. They all expect to get released into the country. There's a language barrier. You'll see some of them have paper IDs they've printed out. We see this with the Chinese a lot. They don't bring their actual passports. China doesn't share their information on their own citizens with the U.S., so it's really hard to vet these people. We know very little about them or why they've come. Keep in mind, more than 30,000 Chinese nationals have crossed through San Diego sector here just since October 1st. And then take a look at this video. We had another group cross illegally yesterday afternoon, primarily Colombian nationals that came through here. Families, single adults, most of them telling us they want to link up with family in the U.S. They also want to look for work here. Lastly, we'll finish you off in Texas. Take a look at these mugshots, Harris. Border Patrol in Del Rio sector reporting just since October 1st, they've arrested 68 convicted sex offenders who have tried entering the border in that direction. Of the 68, 62 of them were convicted of sexual crimes against children. That's 91% of these guys. Their crimes include multiple child rapes, multiple sexual assaults of children, and multiple child molestation convictions. And back out here live, that is why there is so much concern about the gotaways. We talk about this all the time, but it is such an important point. 1.9 million known gotaways under this administration the last few years. People who snuck into the country without ever being captured by Border Patrol. We'll never know who they are, Harris. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah, and having been down to that Rio Grande sector with you, I know that there are cameras that can catch, some shadows of them or outlines of them, but we don't see their faces enough for any kind of detection. And even if we did, unless they're on record as criminals already in this country, the cameras really don't help us. Your last quick thought.
Yeah, no, and they're lucky if they even get them on camera. Sometimes the only way they know people are coming is via seismic sensors. And real quick, Harris, 10 seconds, we got another group crossing illegally here, walking on the same railroad tracks we were just showing you. So it's Groundhog Day out here in San Diego sector, Harris. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah. Bill Malutian, thank you. Always great reporting. ᗷᖇEᗩKITG, National Border Patrol Council Vice President, with me now. All right, so before Bill could even move on, you saw more people, a big trail of them coming. They are coming incessantly now. It's as though somebody turned on a spigot from a different location. What's happening?
No, I mean, it comes down to this administration continues to think they're doing the right thing, and they create a bigger problem. You're seeing the numbers come up. You said it best. They're rushing to the border because they realize, hey, let's hurry up and come across before that cap hits. But at the same time, what it's done is it's boosted up the number of unaccompanied juveniles. Because remember, there's an exemption for these juveniles. So now you're having more juveniles come across. I've seen kids as young as 11 years old with their 2- and 1-year-old little brothers or little sisters coming across unaccompanied because they realize that there's an exemption there. But who's causing it? The smugglers, the drug cartels, they control the traffic. So they realize, hey, let's flood one area, knowing that agents are going to have to go there. It's going to distract them. It's going to have them. And then again, you have the gotaways, which I know it's reported at 1.9. But I'm going to tell you this, Harris, it is well over 2 million. I guarantee you it's over 2 million gotaways already.
Why do you think that?
Because there's no way for there to have agents out there to really see how many are coming across. You can only see so many. You can only get so much data. But without enough agents out there to really look at who's coming across, how many are coming across, there's no way to know. A lot of these times when you count these people that are coming through, you're seeing a group of 20 or you'll report a group of 20 came through, but they walk parallel to each other. They're walking a straight line. They're wearing carpet shoes. They're evading apprehension. It's guaranteed that it's well over 2 million.
Yeah, leaving no footprints and that parallel walking. That's almost like they had to be taught to do that, maybe by a drug cartel. Very militaristic, we know, in some of their movements by the cartel. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro told reporters yesterday that since Biden issued his border order 2 weeks ago, the numbers have been decreasing week over week, and rather materially. I think it's too early given the dynamism of migration, but we are indeed seeing results. Let's hope so, because Fox has learned that the backlog of court cases for illegal immigrants processed and released into the nation is now at 7.4 million. We broke that this hour yesterday. That does not include the nearly 2 million known gotaways. So we're going to bump up that number because ᗷᖇEᗩKITG and Bill Malutian are saying those detection services and human services at the border are not able to detect everybody coming in. That's a lot of people waiting for a court date. And now we have technically something that's going to look like amnesty at 2:45 Eastern today from Biden. Art.
Yeah, he's opening up even more, issues. And I'll tell you what, there's already a pathway through that. If you're a U.S. citizen married to somebody from outside the country, there's already things on the books. There's an adjustment of status. There's petition for alien relatives. So that's already there. So what is he actually going to do? Is he going to expand it? Is he going to waive any fees? What is he doing? All he's doing is he's sending the word out saying, hey, come one, come all, and you're exposing it for more individuals to come up. You're really opening up for more fraud, to be honest, more marriage fraud, more immigration fraud. So he's just creating a bigger problem.
Yeah, it is really curious when you look at the percentage of divorce in this country that something's going to be hindered on something that's already covered in other areas of our law specific to marriage. Yeah, I could see some fraud happening there. Real quickly, we're watching this live now. This is Southern California, one of the points where the cartels have been hitting because Texas has put up its razor wire. Texas is handling its business. But you're seeing places like New Mexico and California absorb some of the sex traffickers and drug traffickers and people coming across with the crowds of those who would hope to get jobs in the country. I mean, it is nonstop 24/7. Art Del Cueto is with me. I'm glad you're on it. And all your men and women, thank you.
Thank you, Harrison. It's something, unfortunately, we're going to continue to see because this administration does not care about protecting our nation's borders.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to Janice Dean now. I don't know about anybody traveling in the sweltering heat south of the border trying to get here, but I would say that the administration doesn't care much for them either, because you would turn some sort of eye towards stemming the tide at this point. We're facing a dangerous heat wave, according to the meteorologists, and the Northeast and Midwest are bracing for what could be the longest heat wave in decades. Those soaring temperatures are bringing the possibility for hundreds of new all-time high records. Some 70 million Americans are under some sort of warning right now. Well, it's almost summer. Senior meteorologist Janice Dean is in Fox Square with more. I mentioned people who might be trekking here, young children. I mean, where is our heart at this point? Because this looks like it's taken shape, just like you said it would, Janice.
Well, and a lot of the country has experienced a heat wave. You know, it started out west for many days and then across the south, above average temperatures. Now it's pushing across the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley. Here in the Northeast, we've had pretty mild spring. And now we've got this dome of high pressure that's kind of anchored here for the next several days. And it's early, so we're going to break records today. We have heat alerts. And yes, it does happen in the summertime. We feel temperatures in the 90-degree range with the humidity feeling worse, but it's early this time of year. OK, so that's the concern here. And we want to make sure we're taking care of the kids and the elderly and our pets, because we have excessive heat watches for millions of folks all up and down the I-95 corridor, and then excessive heat warnings in some areas like Indiana towards Ohio and Michigan. Potential record highs. I mean, when you're dealing with record highs in D.C. at 91, that's significant. 95 in New York, in Syracuse, 93 in Poughkeepsie. A lot of these places in New England, northern New England, they don't have air conditioning. So that's another big concern. Heat index, that's what it feels like with the humidity. It's going to feel like 91 today in New York, 100 in Boston, 100 in Boston. And then it just continues tomorrow through the weekend and into next week when things hopefully will subside. But yes, a multi-day event. And that's why we have all of those heat advisories in place. A lot of local officials are coming out and saying where the cooling stations are. And of course, the pools will be open so people can cool off. But, you know, this is a big deal. Obviously, it's a little early. And will it set up for the whole summer? That's a question we will still have to answer. Over to you, Harris.
Janice, thank you very much. President Trump is facing yet another gag order. Republican leaders from all over the nation are rallying to protect Trump's free speech. Plus, House Republicans are investigating claims the IRS whistleblowers in the Hunter Biden investigation are facing retaliation now. They say the culprit is the federal agency actually responsible for protecting whistleblowers. Leo Terrell will dig into it in Focus next. The judge in the Trump classified documents case has rejected an amicus brief. It was filed by 24 Republican attorneys general opposing special counsel Jack Smith's pending gag order for President Trump. The judge did not explain why she tossed it exactly. Those AGs called Smith's plan to muzzle Trump unconstitutional and said it raises fundamental First Amendment concerns. A quote from the amicus brief now. Free and fair elections in the United States depend on the candidate's ability to speak about important issues of the day. Attempts to stop a candidate from speaking harm more than just the candidate. Critics calling out a double standard in the documents cases of Biden and Trump. Watch.
Attorney General Garland handpicked special counsel Robert Hur and Jack Smith. Hur concluded that although President Biden, quote, willfully retained and disclosed classified materials as a private citizen, close quote, criminal charges were not warranted because Biden is an, quote, elderly man with a poor memory. In stark contrast, former President Donald Trump was hit with a 37-count indictment from special counsel Smith.
Leo Terrell, attorney and Fox News contributor. So, Leo, break it down for me. There already exists one gag order here in New York City. Now they're looking at the other one that the judge has just basically laid down for a temporary period of time in Florida on the case there. But I would argue there's another gag order in place, and it is the $50 million in ads that Democrats are hoping to buy right now. Because if Trump can't fight back, what happens?
You are absolutely right. Donald Trump is fighting a two-front war, Harris. He's fighting the Democrats and Joe Biden, and he's fighting the New York court system. There is that existing gag order on the 34 counts that is still in place. And why? The case is over. Donald Trump cannot respond. But Joe Biden can issue, as you just articulated, $50 million worth of ads talking about the New York hush money case. That's not fair for Trump. He's unable to respond. Here's something else, Harris. Expect Biden to talk about that case at the debate next week. The gag order is still in place. Donald Trump cannot respond. So he's fighting the New York court system that, in my opinion, is favoring the Democrats. And he's fighting Joe Biden, and he got his hands behind his back because he cannot exercise his First Amendment speech.
What happens if he's attacked on that debate stage with that very topic and he fights back? What are the ramifications?
Oh, I'll tell you right now, from a lawyer standpoint, you bet Judge McCann is going to be watching that debate, and he'll throw the book at him. Look, his sentencing hearing is July, I think, 11th, or a couple of days before the convention.
Yep.
Look, all bets are off. I think Judge McCann and the New York judicial system will do everything to hurt Donald Trump. Harris, this is very important. Within 30 seconds of that sentencing, Donald Trump should file papers with the U.S. Supreme Court because he cannot get fair justice in New York.
All right, we'll move to this. House Republican leaders are opening an investigation into the Office of Special Counsel now. And all of this is over claims that agency helped retaliate against two IRS whistleblowers. Those people are actually central to the Hunter Biden criminal tax investigation. The lawmaker sent a letter to the special counsel's office requesting a briefing to determine if the agency was involved in an alleged smear campaign against the whistleblowers. They wrote in a letter, quote, Shapley and Ziegler did exactly what an honorable government employee should do. When they witnessed wrongdoing, they reported it responsibly and made legally protected disclosures. We are finally beginning to see steps toward accountability, but this has not come without great cost to them. The two men testified that the DOJ gave preferential treatment to Hunter Biden in the investigation into more than $1 million of unpaid taxes. Well, now we know the number's more like $4 million. Leo.
These two whistleblowers, Harris and the judge in Delaware, are responsible for justice regarding Hunter Biden getting that trial in Delaware and the tax evasion case. They are the thorn in the side of David Weiss in the Department of Justice, and the House Republicans' only weapon to make sure they're protected: strong letters and investigations. Harris, this shows you the power of the Department of Justice, because these two whistleblowers are not being protected. They're enemies of the Department of Justice. They're enemies of the IRS because they told the truth about the political side dealing between Hunter Biden, Department of Justice, and David Weiss.
Yeah, they told the truth and they're being punished. You talked about the power of the DOJ. Here's perhaps another example. The Department of Justice has asked a court to deny a request to delay former Trump advisor Steve Bannon's prison sentence for contempt of Congress. Bannon argues that he should remain free while he appeals. Bannon's fate is far different than that of Attorney General Merrick Garland. The DOJ announced its decision after the House found him in contempt. Watch.
This has been the most lawless and partisan attorney general we've ever seen. The number of people on planet Earth who were surprised when the Biden DOJ said they will not prosecute Merrick Garland's contempt citation is zero. The damage Merrick Garland has done to DOJ has no precedent in history, and it's really sad.
Former President Trump, White House officials Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro both defied congressional subpoenas, something Garland did. Both were prosecuted and sentenced to 4 months in prison. Navarro is currently serving his term. It doesn't just smack of unfairness. This is unfair. Leo, that's what you say. Why?
Because you have a double standard for Republicans and Democrats. Merrick Garland holds the keys. He's in charge of the Department of Justice. That shows you how much power they have. They are doing selective prosecution. They go after Republicans, Bannon and Navarro, and they won't go after the Democrats. And I'll tell you right now, Why is that tape being withheld? Because it hurts Joe Biden. The transcript has already been released, but they don't want the American people to hear the audio. That is a double standard. That's to protect Joe Biden, and the Department of Justice, Harris, has been weaponized. There's no question about it.
Well, they are omniscient in all of this. I mean, you brought up the tape of that was made by Special Counsel Robert Hur of the current president, and the ums and the ahs and some things may have been cleaned up. That's context. How bad is his memory? You didn't charge him. It must be pretty bad. Maybe we should hear that tape. I mean, I hear you. The DOJ is wrapped up in all of it. Leo Terrell, thank you very much. Recent unedited video, unedited, so we've seen all of it now, is raising more questions and concerns about President Biden's age and fitness for office. So now the White House is pushing back even harder with an odd question about what may have happened to those images. I mean, they're accusing someone of a deep fake. Who are they pointing a finger to? And do they have any evidence of that, or are they just panicking? Plus, Biden's campaign has signaled its strategy ahead of the first presidential debate next week, and critics argue it may end up helping former President Donald Trump. Power panel next. To hit up donors again tonight. This time, he's going to Virginia. Bill and Hillary Clinton will be there, and it's held at the home of former Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe. It's been 20 years since a Republican presidential candidate won in the state of Virginia. A recent Fox poll in the state gives the GOP hope. It shows Biden and Trump are tied, neck and neck. Biden won there by double digits in 2020. So he's losing. Another Fox poll also shows the one-time swing state of Iowa is now heavily favoring Trump. The former president is up by a whopping 18 points there. And the Biden campaign is still confident, despite all these numbers that you see on the screen before your very eyes.
Poll after poll has shown the economy and inflation is near or at the top of voter priorities. How do you plan to address that?
Well, listen, I think you do it by running this campaign, right? Every single day, talking about the work that the president has actually done since he took office and the historic record of accomplishment.
And all of this comes as both candidates are preparing for the first presidential debate in about 9 days. Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy is with me now. Peter, it will be here in no time.
Next Thursday and starting tomorrow, Harris, the rest of President Biden's week is blocked off for debate prep at the presidential retreat in Camp David. So there's not going to be any trips to swing states. There's not going to be any remarks to the nation. It is just going to be fine-tuning the election argument as some prominent liberal strategists now come out to say they think President Biden might need this debate more than President Trump does.
I'm still skeptical that Trump shows up. But stuck. I look at the polling averages. I look where we were. If we have all this new information that comes in, it changes. If you search hard enough, you can see some change, but you really got to look. And I think the president needs this intervening event.
White House officials are urging persuadable voters not to believe their eyes and ears, and they are accusing anybody sharing videos of President Biden freezing or wandering away or being led away by Barack Obama of spreading misinformation. They have not proven that President Biden's appearance in these recent clips has been digitally altered in any way. Their frustration seems to be that context is often missing.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. We're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos, and it is, again, done in bad faith.
A deep fake can be a felony. Somebody is being prosecuted for altering President Biden's voice and doing a robocall before the New Hampshire primary this year. These clips might be unhelpful to the White House's case for re-election, but that is different than a deep fake, just by definition, Harris.
Yeah, well, that was really interesting. It just smacks of desperation if you're willing to accuse somebody with no evidence, which is what I said before the last commercial break. Peter Doocy, thank you. Power panel now. Tammy Bruce, Fox News contributor. Doug Schoen, former Clinton polling expert. So, you know what, Doug, I'm going to start with you because Biden's going to be with the Clintons. I hope they don't touch him. I hope that they don't help him get off a stage or do anything like that. because the shiny object of seeing this man do whatever it is he's doing is too much for the White House and his campaign to take?
Oh, well, you're exactly right, Harris. He needs the reflected glory, principally of Bill Clinton, who governed as a centrist, who brought people together and ran a positive campaign for re-election in '96, emphasizing what brings us together, our commitment to traditional values, cultural, social, and economic, balanced budgets, welfare reform. He needs to absorb that Bill Clinton, not the more divisive Hillary Clinton or the left-wing politics that predominate in the Democratic Party. And he needs to do it on his own, as you rightly suggest.
Well, I mean, that was so much nostalgia at a time when the economy was better and under a Democrat, no doubt. I don't know if you can catch that like a cold, though, Tammy. You got to bring it. And so far, that hasn't happened under this administration.
Yes. It's so long ago. I worked on the '92 Clinton campaign. I was the head of...
You were a child.
I was a child. But look, he liked governing. He enjoyed it, Bill Clinton did. Now, of course, this is before we understood his nature and not being able to control himself just even for 8 years. But that's another story. I think that the people who need to be persuaded in many ways, frankly, don't even remember the Clintons, right? They're not thinking about the Clintons. They're thinking about right now and what we've experienced in the last decade and the quality of their lives or the lack thereof. So, they need money because of the windfall that Trump received after the convention. And I think they realize Carville played it down. But this debate, and he may they're trying to, pull water on the expectations of Joe Biden. He has done okay in things like the State of the Union address and other speeches. He's been angry and aggressive, but I think that he needs this. I would also caution Harris when it comes to the polls. As I remember, Hillary Clinton was ahead in every single poll in 2016. This remains a ground game, like with Virginia. It remains people and holding on to their enthusiasm, knowing that if it's not now, it will be never. So do not get comfortable with the polls. Get excited, get focused, and work on that. But we have to remember that each state is its own local ground game. And Trump understands this. But I think it's going to be an exciting time. We have to hope it's not close because Americans have to be united by the end result.
I like all of that optimism. You both have that. I mean, you remember a time when the country was better and you want to get us there. I get it. I've never seen you in so much agreement, though. Biden, he might just be in trouble when these two go to lunch. Well, the Biden campaign is putting former President Trump's criminal conviction in the spotlight ahead of next week's debate. The campaign, now, I just talked with Leo Terrell about this. Let's go deeper. The Biden campaign is going to spend $50 million in ads that it will run in battleground states. And we want to give you a taste now. Watch.
This election is between a convicted criminal who's only out for himself and a president who's fighting for your family.
Yeah, there's just a problem here, though. The conviction does not seem to be hurting Trump the way that the people on the left had hoped. And certainly we can take a look at the polling. Soon after Trump was found guilty, a poll found that 27% were actually more likely to vote for him. In a new column, Byron York writes this: "It could not be better time for a president struggling in the polls." And one Republican strategist writes this: "It makes it easier for Trump to argue that Biden weaponized the justice system to interfere in the election." Doug, what would you tell this president and his campaign to do with that $50 million? Do you continue to call Trump a convicted felon and let him raise more money?
Absolutely not. I would say the American people had 2 weeks of the judge in New York and the media, the liberal media, calling Trump a criminal. And as Carville acknowledged, I think Tammy would agree, there's been almost no movement, maybe a point, to Joe Biden. I'd say save your money, speak about the issues people care about.
Cuối đơn thứ 20. Bữa đơn thứ 24. Hàng ngày tư bữa đơn thứ 3. Bữa đơn thứ 7. Bữa đơn thứ 14. Bữa đơn thứ 21. Hàng ngày tư bữa đơn thứ 4. Bữa đơn thứ 5. Bữa đơn thứ 10. Bữa đơn thứ 15. Bữa đơn thứ 20. Hàng ngày tư bữa đơn thứ 5. Bữa đơn thứ 3. Bữa đơn thứ 7. Bữa đơn thứ 11.